I think I'm terrific, and the only person that's probably terrificer is a man who's understood history, hidden narratives, real true emblems, the true nature of consciousness, a man that's put up with a lot of jip and a lot of claptrap for daring to speak the truth in public. It's Graham Hancock, a man I know well and admire. Graham, are you there?
Hi, Russell. Good to hear your voice.
It's good to hear your good to hear your voice as well. Where are you, mate? In another country?
I'm in a rather obscure place called Aiken, South Carolina.
Aching, South Carolina. I think we'd all be aching if we were there, dear. That sounds like a terrifying place.
Absolutely. The beds are worse than those in the Khyber Pass.
How is your Khyber?
Doing all right, thank you.
You're right, Graham. Do you remember when we met each other ages and ages ago at some sort of shamanic lodge where I suspect everyone else there was perhaps using psychedelic substances that may have been legal in the place that they were being done in? Do you remember that? I think it was somewhere like Arizona.
I do remember that, and yes, psychedelic substances were definitely on the menu.
Yes, that's right. Even though there are two sides to the story of psychedelia, one side being that they are illegal and dangerous, the other side, of course, being it's a way of exploring consciousness. Now, do you remember that you were there with your wife? Are you still married, Graham? Is that all still going all right?
I'm absolutely still married to my beautiful Santa. We just celebrated her birthday, and as we have done for the last 27 years, we are still traveling everywhere together.
How beautiful. I travel around with my wife as well. I load up the van with the wife, with the dog, with the baby, and a lot of clutter. And off we go and do our workings.
And off we go.
And off we
Sounds
jolly
good.
well go. Now, Graham, we've not come in here to sort of natter like a couple of fishwives. On the show with me is Matt Morgan. Now, Matt Morgan has developed an interest in your field of expertise. We're both fans of you for a long time. I love listening to you when you're on not on Graham Hancock. You are Graham Hancock. Or are you? I mean, identity is complex. I meant when you're on Joe Rogan. I particularly liked the episode where there were more conventional mainstream scientists and you had sort of a confrontational sort of standoff about pedagogy and patriarchy and dogma within science. Can we just do a little bit of covering that?
I was debating with Michael Shermer, the editor of the Skeptic magazine. The only thing I regret is I got a little bit angry during the debate. 25 years of suppressed frustration and fury against the establishment just had to burst out at some point.
Yeah, you did. You did get a bit enraged. There's some points you sounded quite heated, Graham. I think I heard the sound of a fist thudding down on a table. At least I pray it was a fist, sir. Otherwise, that's much too expressive.
Absolutely.
So I suppose the reason what we want to learn mostly about is Egyptology. Should we focus on Egyptology?
Yes, let's focus on the pyramids.
Yeah, let's focus on Egyptology.
Because they found that new void in the pyramid.
Right, now there's a bloody great void in the middle of the pyramid which suggests that the pre-existing knowledge of pyramids can now be challenged with an evidence-based basis. Give us some top stuff on Egypt, Graham.
Well, let me first of all give you some numbers. The Great Pyramid weighs 6 million tons. It stands 481 feet high. It has a footprint of 13 acres. It consists of at least 2.3 million individual blocks of stone, and it is almost perfectly aligned to true north within just 3/60 of a single degree.
Makes you proud to be British, don't it, Graham?
If this is a tomb for some pharaoh, as the Egyptologists continue to insist, then they went to incredible lengths to build that tomb. And really, you can have a perfect tomb without aligning it perfectly to true north. The precision of this monument is absolutely stunning. And not only is it huge, massive, giant megaliths. You get megaliths weighing 70 tons that are raised 300 feet above the ground, above the so-called King's Chamber. Not only is it all of that, but it's actually full of passageways, known passageways and voids, of which the most spectacular is the Grand Gallery. And the Grand Gallery is nearly 130 feet long. It slopes up at an angle of 26 degrees. It's 30 feet high. It's got a kind of corbel vault, so it narrows above you as you look up at the ceiling. But this newly discovered void in the Great Pyramid is above the Grand Gallery. So one must imagine, 10 feet of solid stone above the Grand Gallery, and then above that, what looks like another grand gallery. In other words, it raises the possibility that there is an entire concealed, previously undiscovered passageway system inside the Great Pyramid. And that has to be exciting even to the most boring of Egyptologists, although many of them are already trying to deny that it exists and are trying to deny that the survey that was done is correct, because really this is a very disturbing thing for a fixed and rigid group of academics to be informed about.
Why do they, is that why, sorry Graham, this is Matt, why do they defend their take on things so vehemently? I remember Zahi Hawass, is he still around?
Yeah, Zahi's still around, and he was one of the first to come out and say this is nothing, it's not important, everybody should show no interest in it whatsoever.
Why? No interest, straight away, look the other way.
Yeah, look the other way, we don't even know what it is, but nobody should look at it. That was Zahi Hawass's position in print, astonishingly, but perhaps not astonishingly, because he is a rigid defender of the status quo. Why do they defend the status quo so strongly? I guess everybody gets attached to their ideas. You know, those of us talking on this telephone are no different. We get attached to certain ideas. And when those ideas are attacked, some people find it existentially threatening. It's
no, not me. Never get none of me ideas. Never. Let them go, every single one of them. So, but do you think it's nothing more than a human inclination to be defensive of ideology and knowledge, or do you think there is something in particular within this subject that is being concealed, or something that they fear if a different narrative were to re-emerge? I mean, what are you proposing that these chambers mean, and how does it relate to what you proposed prior to the discovery of this chamber?
There are ancient traditions of hidden chambers at Giza. Indeed, not only within the Great Pyramid, but also underneath the Giza Plateau. There are accounts of a vast labyrinth of corridors and passageways. And the suggestion is that these contain an archive of information from the period that the ancient Egyptians called Zep Tepi, which means the first time. And using, I mean, I can't go into the massive amount of detail in a short call like this, but working with my colleague Robert Boval and using astronomy and the astronomical alignments of the Great Pyramid, we calculate the first time, Zep Tepi, to be around 12,500 years ago. And that is around 8,000 years older than the Great Pyramid is supposed to be. What's at stake here is our whole understanding of human history. I mean, when we, as human creatures, we define ourselves partly with reference to our past. Our notion of our past informs and prejudices our notion of what we should be doing in the present. And I think what's at stake here is that the whole house of cards of human history, the Great Pyramid is not the only example, is in the process of being thrown up in the air. And this, I think, is very disturbing to those who are invested in the current model. I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think it's just the way that science unfortunately works. Science claims to be very forward-thinking, very open-minded, but actually I've found again and again in my research that scientists get dogmatic and indeed almost religious about their points of view, and will engage in dirty tricks and underhand attacks and ad hominem attacks on individuals who propose an alternative model, including other
dirty
scientists.
Tricks and underhand attacks, and the ad hominem ones, that's the best bit of it. Now, what I reckon it is, Graham, I've been thinking about it, and I would wish you'd have given my question a few compliments, because I actually gave you a very good question a minute ago.
A wonderful question, Russell.
Thank you,
yes,
thank
please
you.
ask it again.
Has to say that contractually.
I get carried away, you know.
I've got some good points here, and here are those good points by me. Firstly, precipitation, like that there is, like I know from listening to your work that there is sort of clear evidence that suggests on the Sphinx that it's survived sort of a flood, that it's been there for a flood, and that you do loads of work, don't you, Graham, on hidden civilizations. And I suppose the idea that civilization has reached other peaks. It breaks up the sort of the main thrust of human civilization is that it's somehow teleological, that we're advancing and progressing towards some sort of perfect state. And the idea that there might have been human civilizations that are more advanced than ours, if not in a materialistic, mechanistic, technological sense, in a holistic and spiritual sense, is a real challenge to the continuing forward momentum of consumerism and materialism. Ain't it, mate?
You bet.
What a question!
You bet.
What a question that
You
was!
just-
Everyone's gone mad for it.
Yeah, can we have the answer?
That was the question of all questions.
Oh,
Yes, you
come
bet.
on.
It's
'Cause it's a challenge to
teleological.
use teleological.
We're encouraged to see ourselves as the apex and the pinnacle of human achievement, and we have this fantasy that we will just carry on achieving and reach higher and higher levels as we go along. But how do we define those high levels? We define them in terms of material goods and services. Ours is a technological society. We do everything with machines and mechanical advantage. And somehow we've been persuaded to swallow the idea that this machine world is the ultimate destiny of humanity, that we are just these biological creatures with no transcendental purpose, and that all we're here to do is endlessly produce and consume at ever higher levels. And the notion of a different story of the human past, of perhaps a different kind of civilization in the past, which cultivated and nurtured, dare I use the word, the soul, the spirit of humanity. The notion that such a civilization existed in the past and fell and was gone but left us messages is indeed very threatening to the existing order.
That's bloody good, that, Graham Hancock. Now, Matt
It's a
Moore.
better question.
No, it won't be good. But Matt's going to do a question, Graham.
Graham,
Probably
if-
it won't be the quality you're used to.
Quiet, please, Russell. Graham, if you had 1 year without any Egyptologists in the way, right, you had complete access to the pyramid and the Sphinx and everything, what would you do?
That is
I
quite good.
would seek, using all the methods at our disposal, to discover what lies beneath the Giza Plateau. We already know that there are a number of deep shafts which go down deeply into the Giza Plateau, 100 or 200 feet deep, and seem to come to dead ends. Beneath the Great Pyramid itself, 100 feet directly beneath the base of the Great Pyramid, is the so-called subterranean chamber, which you approach down a sloping corridor. Again, it slopes at 26 degrees. It's 3 feet 5 inches high, 3 feet 5 inches wide. You've got to kind of ape walk down it. Then you get on your knees and crawl along a horizontal passage. Then you enter this really extraordinary chamber hewn out of the bedrock. And on the other side of the chamber is another passageway that I've been into, which is even smaller. And I've crawled to the end of it, and it comes to a dead end. All the indications are that these are the blanks in a huge underground network of passageways and chambers beneath the Giza Plateau. We know there's such a chamber beneath the left forepaw of the Sphinx, about 20 feet down. This was identified by seismic survey back in 1992. John Anthony West and Professor Robert Schoch of Boston University, who were conducting that survey, were immediately kicked off the site when they found that chamber. We know that a couple of Egyptologists have been drilling around the Sphinx. They claim that they are trying to clear groundwater from beneath the Sphinx, but sometimes I wonder what exactly is going on and whether the Egyptologists do already know more than they are telling us. I resist the notion that it's a conspiracy, but I sometimes I have to find myself playing with that idea.
Graham, that was a brilliantly praised and insightful and informative interjection in a radio show that has previously up to now and will again resume being run by idiots. Thank you very much for the treasure
Graham.
of your knowledge and your research. Hey, Graham, do you want to plug something while you're on the phone? Have you written any books lately or done any videos?
No, nothing to plug at the moment. I'm in the middle of researching and writing a new book on mysterious ancient America. North America has been largely missing from my research over the last 25 years. So sometime in 2019, I'll be publishing a big book on that, but it's much too early to plug it right now.
Well done and good luck and thanks, Graham. And I hope I get to see you soon and speak to you soon. Thank you for coming on, mate.
That would be lovely.
Happy birthday
Nice
to
Graham.
Mrs.
Russell.
You too, mate. Ta-ta. Bye.
Indeed. Keep well. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
There's a conspiracy going on. They're covering something up.